We live in a time where the flow of information is constant, with competing voices in crowded spaces, where old school thoughts meet new school ideas.
We are constantly having to recreate ourselves. To understand these identities, we need to decipher the culture. This is unconventional. This is Lounge Academics.
Yes. Hey, what's going on, girl? You all right?
Yeah, am I good? Do you know what? I'm not at home. I'm at my mum's at the moment, so I don't know about the setup because I'm not in my usual environment.
So we're gonna.
But we was doing this sun life. We was barbecuing and garden life in, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna make it home in time. Let me just run upstairs.
Is that what you're trying to do? So
and
you're gonna palm us off for a barbecue. That's what you're doing, isn't it? That's really what.
No. I'm explaining.
I know.
Yeah. You know, like the steps that I made to be here. And you know what's really funny, right? Yeah. I was just thinking, the last time me and you sat down, I'm sure it was on a hot day like this. Do you remember?
Yeah, it was boiling. It was boiling. Yeah, you were fanning yourself.
It was boiling.
Yeah, and your forehead was all.
So I believe your followers are just going to call me that girl with the shiny forehead.
Yeah,
now, but it's all right.
But it's partially covered now. Right. You know what I mean? So it's all good. It's looking good. You're looking well. Do you know what I mean? So as you know. We do, because you've tuned in, you've seen how we do our thing, you know how it goes, you tuned in previously, you've seen the format, we have a conversation, we have 5 minutes to disrupt. It's over to you in terms of the conversation. You own the narrative, you own the talk, not too much pressure, and we just have a conversation. And people, if they wish to, can jump in as part of the conversation as well, to kind of join us if they hear something that has been inspirational or something they want to just respond to or speak to, yeah?
Okay.
Is that all good?
That's fine.
Yeah? All right,
that's
so
fine.
What I'll do...
We'll see how it goes. If it's not all good, then you just steer me if need be, yeah?
It's going to be all good now. So what I'm going to do, yeah? I'm going to let you kick off with your pitch or your little 5 minutes intro. So let's over to you now. 5 minutes of disruption.
Okay, so... Hi guys, everyone that's tuned in. This is like my first time on Insta Live, so I'm actually really nervous. But if you haven't been introduced to me or what I do, my name is Nai. I am a director of Paper Pages Publishing, which is a self-publishing organisation that I set up about 2 years ago. And part of the reason that I put together this organisation was to give a platform to otherwise unheard voices. So one of the things that I'd realised just through my love of reading and my love of writing is that a lot of the time these big publishing houses, the Penguins, the Puffins, they all act as kind of big barriers for people that look like me or from my background in accessing that world of becoming an author and actually having their work published. And actually after doing a little bit of research and finding out some information myself, I realised that actually it was something that I could offer to people and as well as get as my own books out. So that's part of why Paper Pages has started. So my main focus was giving, like I said, giving a space to people that don't normally have this platform. And it was also to encourage people that look like me or my brothers and sisters that it's not just music, being a rapper or sports. That's not the only avenue for us to shine and share our talents and our creatives and our stories. And that was really, really a big thing behind why Paper Pages Publishing has started. Since doing Paper Pages, it has opened the doors to so many other avenues. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about with you today, because I know I've done a few interviews and I feel like I'm always talking about, you know, how I started with the book business, but where it's kind of leading me to is I've now joined forces with an organisation called Better Minds.
Okay.
And the founder of Better Minds is a lady called Ryanya Blackett, and she has been working in the education field for nearly 15 plus years. She's a black lady, advocate of black youths and the education system. And one of the things that she's noticed just through her experience was a failure from the system, and the fact that those that actually were inside the system and you would think had some control to change it, actually, because of red tape, couldn't do nothing. So one of the things that she's put together is this holistic support service to support institutes like educational institutes, the Mental Health Institute, in creating holistic approaches to tackling social justice reforms within these marginalised sectors. So as part of my writing, it's something that I've jumped on board with now, which is going to be offering a platform to young writers that may not be in education, that may have been ex-offenders, people who are generally marginalised from society, and getting them into a space where we can start honing some of the skills and the creative talents and looking at ways of sharing it on a mass basis. So those are some of the things that I'm kind of doing at the moment.
Okay, wow. Sorry, go ahead, Knight. Go on. I see you in full flow, girl. Go for it.
No, do you know what it is? I made a few notes like before I sat down, just because I can waffle. Yeah, I can definitely do that, and I can also lose my train of thought. So it was just letting people know exactly what I do. So prior to doing books, my background was actually in employability and training. So I'd worked in further education training for at least 12 years. It was pretty much one of the first jobs that I fell into. And then I went on to becoming a training delivery manager. So I was responsible for creating workshops and courses that were delivered to job seekers across all London government contracts. So I was working with ex-offenders, lone parents, NEETs, so people that weren't in education or training, as well as your general job seekers. So a lot of where it led me to books was that I found that I had a particular skill in the role that I did, which was being able to be like the middleman for a lot of these individuals. So again, coming from the area that I came from, so I'm not even keeping up with any of the comments.
It's cool. I'm waving to everyone.
But coming from the area that I came from and going into the environment of working in like the local job centre, I started seeing a lot of people that I went to school with or that lived in the local estates to me. And for a second, I got to see how people who weren't from those demographics looked at them. And I also saw how they looked at me differently because I had a job title. So I felt that it was my mission to be that middle barrier that started to kind of bridge that gap between what you think you know of people and who they actually are. And the fact that you see me as somebody completely different to my peers because I have a job title. When in actual fact, my core values are exactly the same as the 30 students in the classroom. So I felt that I had a really, really good skill there in which I was able to be like the translation between the professional and the general civilian. And I feel like that's where the publishing side of things has come into it. So my mantra has always been, you don't need to be like a grade A English student to write a book. You just need to have an idea and a creative. And if the right people support you, you will be able to tell your story. And that's literally what I wanted to do. So using all my experience and my background in employability and my interpersonal skills that I built, that's kind of how it's fed through to Paper Pages and then the other strands of the business that I'm now working on.
I love that. So it sounds to me like there was always a love or a passion for you to kind of give back and to better, like to basically help improve people's circumstances, especially those that have been written off. Do you get what I mean? People who've been written off by society and all of that still. Go on now.
I think also for myself, I think a lot of it is because I know that my physical appearance can be misleading for people. And I see how quickly, because I was able to access.
When you say
so when I say that, so for example, when I was I became a training delivery manager, I was 20 at the time. So I was the youngest person in London doing my job. And I remember when people used to walk into the building, they would walk over to my staff members just in assuming that they were of a higher ranking position than I was, just because I looked like the little young black girl, or they expected me to speak a certain way or to carry myself a certain way because I was proud Hackney born. Oh yeah, I'm from Hackney. I'm from the local area. So there was always an expectation that I felt that people would have of me until they saw me in those professional environments. And then I know from being around like my own peers and my friends that some people don't have the same level of articulacy that I do, and they don't have a chance to remove that barrier. That barrier stays there. I have an opportunity to start speaking, and generally after a few conversations, you kind of realize, okay, she's got at least 3 brain cells more than I thought. Whereas some people don't actually get that opportunity. So I felt very passionate about the fact that what I represented in those spaces was allowing other people that look like me to enter those spaces as well.
But can I ask you, yeah, definitely, and I hear that. Can I ask you, how did you navigate those, like, them moments where people are expecting that you're not the boss or you're not the most senior person in the room? How do you navigate those? How did you handle all of that?
So, see, at first, I used to take offense to it.
Yeah.
But then I started realizing, why am I taking offense? That's on them and that's on their perception. So it's my job to boss up even more so than I would with the average customer when somebody has that assumption of me.
Yeah.
So the next time that you might walk into a building and you see someone that looks like me, you don't automatically assume that they're one of the job seekers in the classroom. They might actually be the person that manages the whole training center. So that's how I used to, just to be unapologetically who I am, but step my game up all the time when I was confronted with those people. I always just felt like I wanted to show and prove, rather than kind of take it as, oh, okay, is that what you think? And then fall into the stereotype of what they expect.
But the thing is,
because it's very easy to do that when your back's up.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you say that, because I think it's a common thing that comes up a lot, like on our podcasts, on other platforms with other people that I've spoken to. It's a common theme. Yes, Nisha, 100%. I mean, Nisha was on one of our first interviews when we did the 5 minutes to disrupt, and she talks about imposter syndrome quite a bit. Yeah, and that's something she definitely has spoken about at length. And I wondered, you know, sometimes I know we talk about kind of just getting on with it and being unapologetic, but sometimes I feel there are those moments where you know, people may feel like, well, I know I'll put myself out there. There's moments where I felt like actually what's being said might slightly be true. Not in the sense that I may have consciously said that, but you start to kind of internalize things. So when you start to hear it enough, you think, well, what's the point? Should I even bother to try and progress or go for that training position or that senior position if everyone just thinks I'm the janitor? Not that I'm hating against janitors, but in comparison in terms of skills, and where people are at in terms of progress. And I guess I just wondered how people do it, because I know for me, I had to do a lot of affirmations, a lot of affirming, a lot of standing in the mirror, looking at myself, calling upon my friends, family members that knew about my goals, do you get me? And held me to account. They're the ones that are like, no, okay, like, bro, you chill with that. You were supposed to be doing this, so I'm going to hold you and keep you at that. Do you get what I mean? But I wondered if there were other resources or other things that also helped you as part of the journey.
So in the period that I talk about when I was doing that role, one of the key things that I say would help me through that period was actually my manager at the time. And it was an older black gentleman. And I think one thing that it was about this guy is I absolutely 100% respected his mind and the way he thought. And because of that, there was so much for me to learn from him. And he was always very honest with me. So he would be somebody that would pull me apart and would say, listen, this is how you came across. This is what you mean. This is how they see you. This is how I understand you. And he would often do Jahari's window with me, especially after meetings. Because like I remember there was a particular meeting when I got really, really heated because they kept referring to customers as stock. And I couldn't fathom that the students that walk in my classroom, you're calling stock. And I remember getting really heated till I nearly came all the way out of my character, and it was him.
You got hackneyfied. You're gonna get hackneyfied. Yeah, I hear you.
Like 0 to 100 real quick. And I remember it was him, and he was able to give me a look, or he was able to say certain words to me that would just allow me to just recollect myself in that space. But one of the things that he did always say to me, which I always remember as well, was that he said, as much as you boss up and you try and show them the best side of the character or the people that you represent, he said, also show them the basics. He said, because sometimes when you're always at excellent, you make it harder for those people that ain't there to walk into those spaces as well, because then they're frowned on, because Naisha, the black girl, does this. How comes you don't? So he always told me to strike the balance, be unapologetic in those spaces, but also be excellent. And it was just finding the balance, because if you did too much of it, you do become a hindrance for somebody else who's coming behind you, because they
you
now
set the
have
bar very high.
nature as the expectation of that's how all black girls act. And no, it is not the expectation. So sometimes I might snap, the head might wiggle, I might kiss my teeth, and I might roll my eyes. And at other times, I might give you such a formulated argument that it makes you think, oh, wow.
Yeah.
So but you just have to be yourself in them spaces as well.
But it's tough that we're always viewed. It's difficult because I think as people that are melanated and people of color, right, we are often stereotyped 100%. You know, it's just often stereotypical views of how we are and how we move in those spaces. And I know there will be like women and men that have joined this talk and are listening and watching right now, right, who occupy those spaces and may well be seen to be very stereotypical when it couldn't be further from the truth. Do you know what I mean? So certain labels are often put on us from the moment we've even gone into the building. And for you, I but you there? You cool now? You there?
No, I'm back now, but you glitched for a second.
Yeah, I know, it timed for a bit, but it's cool. We're there.
Yeah.
We're there. Instagram does this thing, you know. I should learn from T because she normally cuts and then jumps back on, but I usually just roll through. But it's all good. We're here. We're here. But basically, what I was saying was there are moments where, you know, we're constantly having things projected onto us. But obviously, I know you've transitioned from the training now, and you're now moved into obviously the whole book self-publishing journey. You're a book mentor and coach. You're encouraging many people to start their publishing journey. But tell us a little bit more about this recent collaboration, this new stuff that's happening. Yeah. So you said you're working. Is it with a charitable organization? You were saying.
Yeah. See, we just had a meeting on Monday, actually trying to define exactly where we fit in, because the team is just excellent. I can't find another way to describe it. It's like a group of 6 professionals that are kind of like elite in what they do. So we have a nurse who has had over 10-15 years in sexual health practitioner, who's working on board, like I said, with the director, who is a secondary school teacher of 15+ years, and as well as doing private tutoring and working with SEN and special needs children. And her stats in terms of improving education amongst black children, especially, that she's worked with, speak for themselves. So basically what they're doing is they recognize, and obviously we understand through systemic racism and all the other stuff, the institutes that play into it, that there is something that fails us. And what the idea behind Better Minds is making sure that every mind is excellent. So it is supporting all these different institutes. So if it's the Mental Health Institute that are doing one program, we come in with a holistic approach and say, okay, so you're getting therapy there, but what are the other strands that you need, not just for your mental well-being, but your physical well-being? Educationally, what you need to upskill yourself in so that employability becomes of a thing. In terms of employability, how is that going to affect family and childhood poverty? And we look at the whole holistic thing. So we work with different services, we look at what they're doing, and then we provide the holistic prong that they need to support that one element that they specialize in. And the team that Ryan has put together is literally, we've gone through it and literally hits every aspect. So where I come in is obviously my employability background, but then also with the creative writing side of things, to support as well, to give that platform. So like I said, we're working with ex-offenders so a prime example of where I would come in. So through working on employability, I've worked with many ex-offenders who come out rehabilitated, have done much training and education. They will apply for jobs. They're told that, you know, certain things are spent and they're not allowed to be brought up for employers. But as you know, nowadays, a lot of employers put your name in Google. So a lot of employers will put your name in Google. So as much as they can't look at your criminal record, if I Google something and you was highlighted in the local gazette, or it was put in any kind of local article, I'm going to find out a little bit about your history, and I can be prejudiced. So what we're doing is also trying to remove those negative digital footprints by replacing them with positive affirmations, i.e. I'm a published author, i.e. I do illustrations for children's books, i.e. I'm a mentor now, i.e. and it's also changing that. And by doing that, it starts to, again, shift the pieces, and the whole puzzle will just start slotting together.
So in terms of your partnership or your role within working with Better Minds, it's Better Minds, yeah? Yeah. So working with Better Minds.
Yeah, BETA Minds.
Okay.
So please people
Better
go
Minds.
follow it up.
She's showing some love. Better Minds are showing some love.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
Okay. So with Better Minds, for example, the stuff that you're doing with them, I like this idea of developing those soft skills and other ways to kind of add as well to their skill base, because when you leave, the thing is, this is the thing that people have to realize. I think we know, but we need to repeat it. When there are certain convictions and people leave with not even certain, any convictions that's on your rap sheet, yeah, this can become a huge issue for people moving on and progressing, and it makes it very hard for people to be able to kind of separate the person from the convictions or your past or whatever may be there. So I think it's great what you're doing, you know. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's definitely, again, it's empowerment. So with those things, it's about knowing your rights more than your wrongs. So whenever I've worked with ex-offenders, what I tend to find is everyone knows what they're not allowed to do. I'm not allowed to apply for that job. I can't go there. I can't do this. I can't do that. But what are the things that you are allowed to do? What are the things that are in place that you have to disclose and you don't have to disclose? And actually, once you start empowering people with what they can do, their limitations become a lot less.
Yeah.
So it's also taking that type of approach which is empowering people, letting people know this is what you can do. It's also bridging the gap in the education system. I've worked with a lot of young people that just don't see the point in certain bits of education. And I think that is one of the key things that are missing. And what we plan to do as well with the holistic approach is the transference of skills. Okay, so you might be learning about geometry right now that means absolutely nothing in everything you do today. But when you get your first flat after your hostel, let's try and put up some shelves. I'm pretty sure now those numbers, those centimeters, those angles, they all mean something. But if you can't find a place for knowledge, then you have no reason to store it.
Yeah.
And I think it's also changing that kind of approach. And if we can do it through stories, through education, through the Better Minds program, that is literally what we're doing. Empowering people to know what they can do.
Definitely, because it sounds like what you're talking about is definitely about what they often refer to as a growth mindset, where you kind of shift. You know, you may start from a certain point, or whatever point that you're at, you're there. But from there, with a growth mindset, you can only go up. You can only, it's about having a positive mindset that grows, that attempts to see the world differently, and also to respond differently to the world, especially when, you know, the world has a particular perception of you as well. Do you know what I mean?
It was interesting because I was in a live video that you were in the other day with T.
Tiana. Yeah.
And it was an amazing conversation, by the way. If anybody wants to go and have a little juicy conversation, that was a really, really good one to go and look at on T's live. But one of the things that you mentioned in that live was about the locus of control.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of measurements and things that we use on the program to look at tangible outcomes to see where a person now feels, if they feel a lot more empowered and in control of the situations and things that are happening around them. So I thought it was really interesting when you brought that up the other day. But in relation to this, that is the aim as well, moving people into that internal space of control.
Definitely. And big up Yaz, thank you. Yaz is saying brilliant, give them a sense of hope. Yeah, definitely. We need to. We definitely, so bless up for that. And I think, the locus of control, for those that don't know, or people are thinking like, what's that all about? What we're talking about with locus of control, it's all situated in psychology, So there was a psychologist, Russell was his name, and he believed basically that in terms of his approach to how we see things in life, when we have certain situations or circumstances may face us. So, for example, you are somebody who maybe, you know, you've noticed that there are issues financially, you're not in work, you haven't got money, you've noticed that, you know, you've got a loved one or a young one that you care for or whatever. Depending on your frame of mind and your locus of control, you may locate having control over that situation in different ways. Some people may see themselves as being victims, so they might just see it as, you know what, I'm totally a victim as a result of this situation, and as a result of this I have no power. So the locus of control is put on people. It's an external locus of control, which suggests you have no agency. But obviously, where there is a personal agency, you have an internal personal locus of control, which suggests that you have power and control to change certain things, you know, which shifts your whole mindset totally in how you view situations and circumstances as they happen. So anyway, I just went to stop there and give you a little psychology lesson. But yeah, but it's all good. Do you know what I mean? And I think psychology is a big part of this. And it's nice that you're combining. I love what Better Minds is about and how you're combining that with your love for writing and that creative outlet for young men in particular. I think it's important. Yeah.
Which will actually, when we go into my dream cream and bread and butter,
tell us your dream cream and butter and yeah, go for it.
Okay, so this is with regards to publishing, and do you want to explain what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So the benefit of those that have logged on. So thank you. So we're having a little conversation. For those of you that have just joined, we're literally talking about, this is Meet Nye from Paper Pages. We're basically having a little catch up around her work and what she does, yeah? And as part of this format, what we do is we ask people to give us a pitch effectively about what they want to do, what they do, how they do it, and basically what their dream referral would be. So who would be somebody that they would really make their month in terms of a referral or a client, who'd make their year, and who would be their average kind of day-to-day client referrals, yeah? So what we're going to get into now, we're just going to jump into Nye, who's going to basically let us know who her dream referrals will be, yeah? Cool.
Right. So my dream referral, actually, I feel like I've got it.
Okay.
And it's a 12-year-old writer. So I joined, with everything that's been going on lately socially, with the whole Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah.
I've joined quite a few different groups on Facebook where, you know, people are sharing services. And a mother of a 12-year-old daughter had written to me about a project that her daughter had done as part of a school assignment. But because she changed the focus of the actual assignment, she feels that her daughter's work is not going to get graded. So she sent it to me. She was just like, oh, I just want to know if, as a mum, I'm overthinking that this is really good, or is it actually a good piece of work? When I tell you this little girl is something special, she's my dream customer. And I don't want to go too much into the book because I'm aiming to get it out for her by September, so that when she goes back to school, she's able to walk into school with her post-lockdown achievement. But basically, the school assignment was that she had to talk about animals in their natural habitat. And what she did is she said that she didn't feel compelled to write about something that she didn't feel emotionally connected to, especially when George Floyd had just been killed and she's seeing all these things that are happening to her people. How can she sit and write a fluffy story about animals? She's like, my brain wasn't there. So what she's done is she's used a George Orwell approach, as he did in 1984, to use the animals to depict the modern day society. And through the depiction of the sets of animals that she's used, she's managed to tell such an amazing story about race and a possible solution, but she's used it through the characteristics of animals, and her description has all been in line with what her assignment was. So everything is factual, but it's told in a story form. I can't explain it enough, but I've been in awe of this little girl. I've read over the 3 chapters that she sent me so far at least 3 times, just to make sure that I'm not overgassing her. And no, she seriously is a force to be reckoned with. So that has actually been my dream referral, because like I said, when I started Paper Pages, it was to give a platform to voices that wouldn't have been heard. And the letter that I received from this little girl, and the fact that she was so compelled to write it at the risk of her grade, how can I not give her the opportunity to share it with the world. So for me, that was my
Wow, that's brilliant.
dream referral so far.
And just to give you some feedback, because people are loving what you're saying. So too much info media has just been like, wow, that sounds amazing. So you've got a lot of love. There's a lot of high fives up in the building, you know, and it's important. It's so important that we hold on to this, you know, because there you've got any other circumstances, if she hadn't been connected with you to kind of put that, to help in a way affirm her position and to affirm the belief in herself, that wouldn't happen, you know. So so we're being told, right, they follow the page, eager to hear more. So you've already got people wanting to connect with you to hear more about this little girl and what you're doing. So yeah, go for it now.
So my cream referral at the moment, so I've worked with a range of authors, but I haven't worked with any black male writers, so to speak.
Okay.
And it isn't just a black male writer. I ideally want somebody who is going to tell a story from a black male perspective that isn't about gangs and guns.
Sure. Yeah.
And that would be my cream referral at the moment. I want something that still evokes emotion and still is socially conscious, but I just want something of a different nature, and I would love to have the opportunity to present it.
Can I just ask you, so you say that you don't want that typical stereotypical gangs, knife, rare. Being brutally honest and candid about this, do you find when you do come across young black men that want to go into writing, when you're talking about that resistance of not wanting to get into that, is that something that a lot of young black men come as their focus point, or is this the industry as well in terms of expectations of where does that come from?
It's a bit of both, and it's to do with what we glorify. So to them, writing a story about something else that they might find interesting isn't popular. So generally when people kind of want to write a book, so there's people that love writing that will just write, and they don't care if it gets published or not. But then I tend to find those people that are writing to be published, they obviously want something that's popular, and they tend to draw on those popular genres because they feel that in their community, if we look at the movies that have done really successful over the last few years that have come from our community, they've all kind of been of that theme and that nature. So for me, I would like to move away from that, because when I think of the young males that are in my family of that age group, so the young adult author range, gangs and that doesn't come into my mind. I think of success stories, football stories. I think of scholarships and going on to doing motor mechanics with one of the biggest, motor companies in the UK. I think of so many other stories that still can have all that social deprivation of where they come from and that realist and being on the estate. But I just want to see something different and something that actually reflects the majority of black boys that I know, because although the media highlight this gang, when I look at my local community, although it's prevalent, there is a gang culture. It's not the dominant. And media will have you believe it's the dominant. And I just think that we need to start changing that rhetoric amongst people within our community and outside of our community, and get to a space where we glorify and we're happy to tell stories that don't have a bad man as the hero.
And the thing is, that is the catch-22. And I know there are other people that I've had on the platform that are creatives, or whether they're filmmakers, whether they're content creators, writers, authors, whatever their sphere in the creative field. They've often said that they've been pigeonholed into certain things. Do you know what I mean? Where they're like, right, we want the next bit book from this young boy that survived gangster lifehood. Do you know what I mean? So as Yaz is saying, she's saying like, we definitely need more positive stories out there. We need to have
I agree,
totally, and I think on that, because of time, if you don't mind, if we can switch it up a little bit, right? Because I know obviously we've been talking, we've said quite a bit actually in quite a short space of time, and see, look how time flies when you're having fun, girl.
I'm known for that.
I'm telling you.
Chat too much. That's what my mum used to say.
It's cool. So what I wanted to ask you, right, kind of thinking about yourself now, and for our people that are watching and listening in, by the way, if there's anybody who's here that wants to jump on and add to this, please there's a segment that we do where we get you to come on. You can come live, talk to something that Nye may have mentioned or something that we've said. So, okay, so Chuck's from Too Much Info Media said, this is a really interesting point. I think a lot of males that write are coming from a necessity, let's see, to express pain. I will definitely connect with the lady as I'm, 2 million words in, or 2,000 words into my first
he's 20,000 words into his first novel.
Yeah, so he's there going in, do you know what I mean? So, yeah, he wants to connect.
I'm going to look out for the request, media.
Totally. So, yeah, connect and you can do that. And also, you know, Too Much Info Media, if you want to jump on and talk about this, let us know. You know, if you want to come in and say a little bit more, that would be great. Yaz goes on to say, especially from our own people, as there's always a better way. So we got to own our own narrative, I guess is what she's talking about. So what I want you to do now, really, is just to find out a little bit more about yourself and your kind of motivations and where you get your inspirations from. So I'm going to do this in a quick fire rounds kind of way, yeah? So it's nothing for you to think about too tough. I just want to check, I've got to ask now before I make any assumptions. Do you watch YouTube at all?
I live on there.
You live on there?
I live on there.
See,
I've got a second home on YouTube.
I should have jumped into that. Our last few guests was like, nah, I don't do YouTube. But anyway, I'll ask you then.
Wait.
If there were free...
I mean, you don't do YouTube.
Pardon?
I said, I don't understand people that don't do YouTube. Yeah. That's like people saying I don't listen to music.
Yeah, some people are very different in their interests, you get me? So what I'll ask you, if there were free YouTube channels that you watch or you subscribe to that you'd recommend, what would they be and why?
All right, I'll be honest, yeah? If I was to answer this question, I would have undone every professional thing I've just said.
Okay.
In my downtime, I'm Ratchet TV junkie. I'm a huge podcast watcher, so I do watch a lot of podcasts. From the culture. So my top 3 podcasts that I'm watching at the moment, and again, they're not anything educational or anything like that. This is just literally my release. It's where I don't have to think professionally.
And that's important.
Chucky Online is one of my favourite ones. It's the Hardcast podcast. I absolutely love watching that. I also watch No Behaviour. Because that just brings out my terrible side. And there, I'm trying to think of another podcast that I watch sometimes. I'm a big fan of The Receipts, but they're not really on YouTube.
The Receipts.
But I tend to be a podcast watcher, Ratchet TV or movies.
So you consume a podcast. So this should be a good one for you. Give me 3 books that near enough saved your life. So your favorite reads, basically.
All right, I wouldn't say saved my life. Yeah, you might have to think of rewording that question, because I heard you ask that to someone else the other day, and it was like, saved my life. My life run at risk. But no, three great books. Oh God, there's so many books. All right, childhood wise, there was a book called Age Ain't Nothing But a Number by Yinka something, I can't remember his surname. But as a child, the reason why that was a book that I remember so much is because it was one of the few books on my school bookshelf that had an all-black character cast. And it was set in like a London environment. It was just one of the only few books that I ever remember picking up and just relating to as a child, because everything else that I read was like Babysitter's Club and Sweet Valley High, all around that time anyway. So they were books that weren't really resonating. Another favourite read, which is an all-time classic read, is Yardi. I absolutely love that book.
That's what Idris Elba, is that what Idris Elba depicted?
He redid the movie, but I haven't watched the movie. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of when I've read a book and they do the movie.
It spoils it.
A bit like Gone Girl, which is another brilliant book. But the movie wasn't as good as the book.
I see you're super critical. As you said, you're not feeling that. Cool, okay.
Do you know what it is? I find it hard. You see what happens? You see with a book, you create. So when you've read a book of something and you created a character and you had what she looks like, and then they come and put someone else on the screen, you're like, that's not her.
Yeah.
That's not who I've known for
Yeah.
the last 5 years. Who is this person?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm not a lover
Okay.
of books to movies in that regard, unless they're a really, really good one.
Okay then.
And I can't think of my third one off the
That's
top of my
fine.
head,
That's cool.
but
Okay. So give me.
I'm a huge Eric Jerome Dickey fan.
Okay.
I love his books as well.
Cool. Okay. Cool. So moving on, what would you say would be, if you had to recommend a binge-worthy Netflix series for your downtime, what would you recommend? A binge-worthy Netflix series.
See, a lot of people might not enjoy this as much as I did, but I loved Money Heist.
Money Heist. What's that one then? What's this?
That's the one where they are robbing the Royal Mint.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they've all got names of countries and stuff like that. But do you know what it is? It's because it's got that whole psychological
element to it.
Undertone behind it. So yeah, I love anything that's got like a psychological undertone.
Okay.
But I enjoyed Money Heist.
Okay.
I must admit, it was one of the series that I watched all the way through.
Cool. Definitely. All right then. And what would you say if there were like 2 films that you'd have to recommend people watch before they die? Yeah, what would it be?
Ooh. 2 films.
Yeah, 2 films you'd highly recommend that people need to.
Well, I think everyone should watch Roots.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think you need to be mentally in the right space to watch it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's for everyone at any stage, but I do think it's something that everyone should watch. I think white people should be made to watch it. I think they should be made to watch it in school as well. So that's one. And then just as a classic, Set It Off.
Oh, Set It Off. Wow. Old school.
Yeah.
And Vivica Fox before her face looked like. Boy. Yeah. Before she went.
That's a movie that I could watch again and again and again and again. It's just for entertainment and the fact that it's an all black female cast. And it was a brilliantly executed storyline. Sometimes we always get excited. Yeah, we've got black females, and then they let us down because they don't get the budget or the Set It Off executed as far as I'm concerned.
Definitely.
It's one of my favorites.
Cool. So I just wanted to check here, Nye. Does anyone have any questions for Nye? Is there anyone that wants to jump on? I'm seeing a lot of hearts. There's a lot of love being responding to what's being said and what's been heard. But is there anybody that's looking to jump on and be part of the convo at all that wants to come in? Anyone there? Oh, look, yes, Set It Off. People are just responding. Yeah.
Yes, T, she knows.
Everyone's like, yes, Set It Off. So if there's anyone that wants to come on to the live. If I have to call someone out, I'll do that. I'll do this. So yeah, come on, Yaz, where you at? Is there anything you want to contribute? No, nothing. Gone once, gone twice. Okay, that's cool. But what we'll check and see, and they're a little bit shy. They are. What I'll ask you is this. If you don't know how, what do you mean I don't know how? Is that you, Mr. Too Much Info Media?
He probably, I didn't know how to jump on live. When I saw that button come on, I was like, oh, that's how it works.
It should come up asking whether or not you want to participate in the conversation. So it should be there. There's often a little option. Hold on, let me see. Or if you pose a question as well, if there's any questions that you want to pose. That's weird. It's not maybe because also I've got you on but it usually happens because that's how I jumped on with what's his name?
I think I have to get off for them to get on.
But they could still indicate that.
Oh, someone's asked me what is my favourite book that I've published.
Okay, what's your favourite book? Nice question. Thank you. Is that Kida 147?
Yeah.
Hello, Kida.
Do you know what? Yeah, all the books that I've published, so far, they all have a special meaning to me. So my baby, which is one that people probably hear me speak about the most, was Dressed in Peace. And because I wrote that with my son in mind, it was literally written for purpose. It was because I needed a book to do something. It wasn't there, and I created it. And for my son watching me go through that whole journey of coming up with an idea, sketches on a piece of paper, to actually, oh my God, my friends at school can buy the book.
Yeah.
For me, that was a huge achievement. But then my second book that I published, which was Kind Hands Don't Hurt.
Yeah.
That book also holds a lot of meaning to me as well, because it was the first book I published for someone else. And it was the first time that I got to see the gift of what I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just some of the things that Maureen Badu has said to me after we'd gone through the process and having her book out. For me, it meant more than any amount of money we were going to make from the book.
Sure.
And the fact that she's been an Amazon top seller for the last 2 years of her book being released is also an amazing achievement as well. So I would say those two stand out straight away for personal reasons. But my next 2 books, I think, are going to shift that balance. So like I said, the little 12-year-old girl, that's going to change the game for me. And I'm also going to be releasing my own first young adult read for teen girls with a predominantly Black female character list. And there's no teenage pregnancies or anything like that going on. It's going to be like a little mystery type of book. But yeah, I'll be coming back to the platform once I'm ready to promote. I'll be like, KJ,
definitely. Well, Keita, I hope that answered your question. And there was another question as well, which you kind of covered at the beginning, but I guess it's because they've come on a bit later, from Need Destany. I can't even pronounce that. I can't even say that. But she asked, I think it was, what inspired you to start writing?
So I've always written. If my family know me, I've always been someone that's quite creative, bit of a center of attention in the family. So if I'm not writing, I'm speaking. If I'm not speaking, I'm dancing. If I'm not dancing, I'm singing, I'm rapping, I'm doing something to get your attention. So I've always had a creative flair or a need to kind of exercise myself creatively. And then, like I said, when I had my son and we moved to Hertfordshire and that need for the book came up, and I saw that what I was able to do, that kind of pushed it on even more. But I've always enjoyed writing. I think I had my first piece of work published when I was 11. Yeah. In year 7, I had one of my poems published as part of a school competition. So there's always been that flair for writing. But my career and employability kind of distracted me from what I really loved doing, because I was then chasing the paycheck. Sure. Because I had bills to pay. And I think having my child and having that kind of that moment, it then allowed me to go and actually do what I love. Okay. Well, I hope alongside what I need to do.
I hope that answered that question. I don't know if there's any other questions that people had. People are very shy tonight. No one wants to jump on live and pose their question live. But
they're probably thinking, I'm not asking no question for her to talk for another 5 minutes. I come to support. Is she not getting off now? I know my people. They're like, nah, I've given you an hour. Come on, girl.
So it's all good. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of anyone else who you would recommend, that needs to kind of bounce on here, who would you recommend to come on?
Right, so because I know how your platform works and you've introduced me to some amazing people, one of the people that really stand out that you introduced me to is a lady that does AI. For some reason, I always remember her, and I've been a huge fan of hers ever since.
Taylor Sky. Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
But someone I would recommend is a lady called Glorious Arts. Okay. She's a pediatric nurse and a face paint artist. And her story is actually an amazing story.
There's a picture of her on your page, right? Didn't you do a picture?
Yeah, she's done an event for me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's all right. You can stalk me, Kay. It's fine. My man will come and punch you up on another day. It's all right. But basically her story is an amazing story. The fact that she started off filling in for a mate whose face painter didn't show up to the kids' party, to now having her own line of face paint.
That's deep.
Alongside being a pediatric nurse and alongside doing 101 things that she does for the community and for her family, I think her story and her journey would be something that would be really interesting to hear. And plus, she's just a great character. Yeah. And I would love for you to get the founder of Better Minds on the program as well, because I think her experience and her background for the Better Minds program will come across completely different to me, because she's coming in from the education field, and she was the one that found the problem
Yeah.
that made her create this organisation.
Yeah.
So she'd be a great person to speak to as well.
That'd be great. And you know, we're all about education in the sense that we want to provide teachable moments for people. So, you know, we believe education isn't just about sitting down in a classroom and people just chatting at you. All of this, even this moment here, this is learning. Do you get what I mean? For all involved.
Yep.
So we see learning in different ways, and people learn in different ways and see the world through different lenses. And we just want to speak to as many people as possible and provide those teachable learning moments, you know. But did you see any other comments there now? I see you leaning up. I see you.
Yeah, there was just two more. Someone had asked, how was it my first Insta Live? It was actually not too bad, just to answer that question. And what is my long-term goal regarding my books? Literally just legacy. So my long-term goal is just to leave this earth having made enough of a contribution that it's going to create some improvement for the next generation. Yeah. And that's literally, like they say, each one teach one. So if one person picks up one of my books and loves it, enjoys it, gets a thirst for reading, and learns something about a new culture or has a new experience, then that's always the long-term goal. Yeah,
totally. And
if I become a bestseller, that's a bonus.
Of course. But yeah, and that's there. We'll speak that in. We proclaim that, and the hearts flutter up. You get me? So just to say, so for anybody, right? If you're watching this now, obviously this has been 5 minutes to disrupt. Of course, it is longer than 5 minutes. This is an opportunity. We're the only platform that sheds a light on other people's platforms, really. We want to give other people as part of our community the opportunity to be seen, to be heard, and for you to follow their great work. So if you feel that you want to ever jump on, if you feel this sounds like you've got a project that you want to promote, you've got a business, there's something you're passionate about that you want to speak to, and it be something that could enable other people to learn, and it could be a teachable moment, I suggest you get in touch with us and jump on, yeah? And equally, you know, please follow, connect with Nice, share. You know, each one teach one. This is what this platform is about, and this is what we're all about, to connect with each other and each one teach one, you know. Iron sharpeneth iron, you understand? So yes.
Listen, not to take your hosting role, but you guys still have some of your previous interviews up on YouTube, right?
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, look at you.
No, the reason that I say that, guys, please, because you are one of the only people, like I watch podcasts a lot, and people only want to jump on the bandwagon when something's hot. And one of the things that I know from just following your platform is you shine light on excellence, regardless of what stage it's at. And some of the people that you have just even put me onto, people like Jade and Kezra, who have got their own comedy show, two females literally doing their thing. I always go back to the AI lady, NP Narratives, yourself, Yaz. Like, honestly, there are people in my community that I just didn't know were doing the things that they're doing. And your platform is one of those few spaces that has consistently been there for that. And I just wanted to say that out loud so that everybody knows and doesn't just think, okay, it's this little 5 minutes to disrupt, KJ's just trying to ting. No, it's been a long fight. Him and Yaz have been doing this for a long time, and go back and check the previous interviews because they won't disappoint.
Yeah, no, I respect that. No, thank you, no. And definitely, and even Yaz is saying thank you as well. I mean, definitely.
No, big up, Yaz.
Yeah, you know, join us on our YouTube channel. Obviously, if you're following and you're watching this conversation at Lounge Academics, you just put that into your search engine for YouTube and our channel will pop up, and then you can connect. Subscribe, share, watch, like, and there'll be something there for everyone, you know. Hearing man said, facts, just clapping hands, facts, you know, it's great. But look, you know, like Yaz said, bless you with a glass of wine, you know. I just want to just say, respect to you, Nye. It's always been great. Obviously, we want people to connect with you. So how can people get in touch with you? If they're interested in getting into the publishing thing or wanting to write their own book and stuff, how can they go about that and find you?
So, right, I just made a few notes. So if you want to connect with me, best way is to hit me up on my social medias. On all my social media platforms, there will be a contact or an email address link so that you can then have direct contact with me. My handle is @PaperPagesLTD on all platforms. So Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. It's the same handle on each. What I will say is I'm always open to hearing new stories, new ideas. But I will just say to people, be mindful, because do a little bit of research before you contact me. And the reason why I say do a little bit of research is because telling a story does not make you an author, if that makes sense. So do a little bit of research and just make sure that you're actually at a stage where you're in the mind frame of an author. Once you're in that mind frame of an author, even if the work isn't where it's at, then we can talk. But one of the things that is a little bit disheartening is I just kind of get people that are just at the writing stage and not in the whole author mindset. And I do think that to those people that actually have put in the hard labor of maybe gone to writing school and have studied, I don't want to discredit what they do and be like a cheap route in to publishing. Yeah. So I still have a certain standard to go by, sure, but I just have removed a lot of the barriers that the big publishing companies have done. So do your research, and if you're a writer, please make sure that you read. That's my main thing. Just read. Because I keep getting people who think they've created something new, and then I'm like, there's like a book that says that, and there's a book that says that, and there's a book that says that. So do your research, do your reading, and once you've done that, my doors are open. Yeah. Hit me up. Cool. Let's get creative.
And thank you. And Danny Mayers has just said, love this platform and enjoyed this discussion, heart and clap of hands. So respect, see?
Yes, guys, check out Danny May music as well. One of the few people in 2020 actually making conscious music, going against the grain and just keeping it authentic to what she loves. Respect. Love you, Dan.
And listen to you, you know what I mean? And this was your first Instagram live. You never would have thought it. Never would have thought it.
You've created a monster now. Oh my gosh, you're going to keep seeing that notification. Nice live. Hi guys, just in the garden. Thought I'd go live today.
No, it's all good. And that's it. And that's what it's about. You just got to cut your teeth. And like I said, winners take risks out here, man. And we fail and we fall. But so what? We get back up, So at the end of the day, everyone's like, well done, Nye. People bending up. Do you get me? So
thank you, guys. Thank you. It's because you guys were supporting as well. Yeah, I appreciate you.
Definitely. It's all been love, And I just want to say, just your final parting words, Nye, before we go and we wrap up. Anything final is your word or final thought?
I think people just take care of yourselves. And I know this is totally nothing business related, but this is just human related. Can you just make sure you ask the people around you if they're genuinely okay?
Yeah.
And I think if we're all doing that, then the world's going to be a better place naturally anyway. So that would be my parting message.